I'll start with this one. And this one is low-key my favorite, all right? Did this Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Herbert generation of quarterbacks, did they peak? Are they done? Are we on the other side of that? Because back in my day, they were like the cool quarterbacks who were like every year you're guessing one of them is going to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like any of them are going to win a Super Bowl. Like even like Josh Allen, still love Josh Allen, but I don't think the Bills are winning. I think they have a lot of holes in their team. Look at Mahomes; he's coming off an injured year, and then the Chiefs are kind of on the decline. The Ravens, I mean, Lamar had his first like real bad year last year. That's a lot of injury based, but Ravens had a lot of new coach, fired their coach. Burrow just seems like the Bengals have not been able to figure out in forever. Herbert is just a loser human being who disrespects media people. This wave of quarterbacks that was like our, group. And the way I phrased it was like, did they get passed as like the new kids on the block or the new kids 2024 draft and more recent? Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Cam Ward, Fernando Mendoza, Tyler Shuck. Not that those names are all bigger than Josh Allen. Not saying they're bigger, but saying like, this is now like this. If you're new to football, you might be like, oh, look at these young fun guys. And it seems like our young fun guys are now like 30 and some of them are already on the decline. Do we have a new wave of quarterbacks kind of like emerging while like this group that was our group is now going to look like Breeze, Brady, and Peyton Manning, 10 years ago. And now we're going to like transition. That's what I think is very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to bring up. I didn't have that on my list, so I'm glad we have some different categories. I did write down though, just to talk about Patrick Mahomes coming off his ACL tear. I mean, I think that's the biggest out of all those names. He's the guy who's been the premier player in the NFL for nearly a decade now, and just to see like what is his recovery going to be like. He's expected to play Week 1, but just is he going to have the same spark he had? We've seen Lamar Jackson last season kind of take a step back. He didn't run as much as he used to. He wasn't as efficient as he's been in the past. Now he had John Harbaugh his whole career. It's the first time he's going to have a different head coach. Just how will that affect him? Josh Allen's the one that seems to still be Josh Allen. He seems to still be at his peak. But like you mentioned, the Bills on paper, I mean, they don't seem like they're ready to. They didn't make the tangible improvements that you would hope, and they continue to not be able to get over the hump. So I'm with you in that. I'm wondering if those guys' best seasons could be behind them, at least from an individual standpoint. I think a lot of the thing is that a lot of these younger quarterbacks, we still have to see, like, can they take that next step? I think Caleb Williams is a guy who's getting a lot of hype this year. He's connecting with maybe some younger fans. He's on the Madden cover, things like that. But, maybe I'm biased as a Green Bay fan, but I think he still has a lot of things to work out. Drake May, he had a great season, but then he kind of got embarrassed in the postseason. What can he do from here? I think that those guys are still the premier quarterbacks, and they probably, like kind of like you mentioned with Breeze and Brady, and I'll throw Aaron Rodgers in there. Like those guys into their mid to late 30s were still at the top of their position. Stafford right now is another one. I still think the class, that top tier of quarterbacks, that top class, like I think they still got a few years of being at the top, but at the same time, we might never see Patrick Mahomes throw 38 touchdowns again, or his 150 touchdown year everybody always thinks about. Like that might not be coming back. We might never see Lamar Jackson rush for 1,000 yards again in a season. That might never happen again. And we didn't even talk about Joe Burrow, but I mean, he gets hurt routinely, and the Bengals haven't made the playoffs in 3 seasons now. So I think it's an interesting question though, because if these guys aren't going to be, the MVP level seasons they've had in the past, or maybe they will, but it doesn't seem like it's going that way. It's like, who's going to take that, who's going to step into those shoes as the top young quarterbacks in the league. And I think that's what we don't know the answer to, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And I think too, like part of it is like, I feel like we're going to have more time with these guys. I think a lot of them do rely a lot on their athleticism. Like look at Lamar. He's probably not going to age the most gracefully. I think Josh Allen hasn't really, like we said, he hasn't dipped it, but he's a guy that relies a lot on running. Mahomes, after another leg injury now, it's like second. But he runs a little bit, but probably less now. And it's like, I just don't see them getting better. And none of them have won yet besides Mahomes. That's kind of the other thing. At least with like Brady, obviously won a lot. Rodgers won a ring. Breeze won a ring. Manning won 2. Roethlisberger won. Even Eli Manning won 2. It's like a lot of those guys from that generation, they kind of spread the wealth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Here it's been a lot different. And like Sam Darnold, not counting this group, like he wasn't, in this wave. And even this year, if the Rams win, it's going to Stafford. He's above this group age wise. So I just don't see like a world where any of these teams, I think the only one that could realistically win the Super Bowl is probably the Bills. I don't think the Ravens, Chargers, or Chiefs are going to win this year. Definitely not the Bengals. So, like, that's the thing is, like, we have these guys probably at the end of their primes. It feels like we kind of missed out on some of them having, like, this great success.
I mean, there's a ton of bad playoff losses for Buffalo and Baltimore over these past couple years. I mean, the Bengals made a Super Bowl, but they ran into that Rams team. And I think Josh Allen, because he's still so great, I mean, to me, he's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the year where you mentioned you don't think any of these teams could win a Super Bowl, but, Buffalo, as much as I think that they're worse than they've been in previous seasons in terms of their roster construction, I look at the AFC and it's kind of wide open, right? Like, I don't necessarily know if New England's going to go back-to-back AFC championship appearances. And then from there, like Denver's probably the other team you're looking at just because, they could have maybe have gotten there if Bo Nix doesn't get hurt last year. But, Josh Allen's a much better quarterback than Bo Nix. So, can he unlock that offense? Can like him and James Cook just carry that offense to a Super Bowl appearance? I don't think it's out of the picture just because I think the AFC at the top is weaker this year. But I agree with you. It's like you're not inclined to predict that at the same time because I feel like we've seen Bills teams that are much more impressive, at least with the name, the talent, all that. I think for Josh, this is a very good opportunity for him to kind of, reshape his legacy here. Not that, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's been a top quarterback for a while, but just in terms of getting over the hump, and football is the ultimate team sport. So I'm not saying it's always on him, but just, you want to see him at least make a Super Bowl. And I think maybe this could be the year, but I mean, I don't have a Super Bowl prediction just yet. I haven't delved into like all 32 teams and finalized my predictions, but I'm not going to guarantee a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, that's the only one, but it's just this whole thought of like, it used to feel like these guys were like upcoming guys that were all like great on great teams. And I don't know, just all like the whole changing of the guard in the NFL. Not like these guys are better, but I think their teams might be, which is kind of crazy.
And I think it's I'll ask you one more question about that. Is there any of those younger quarterbacks that you think, this year or 2 years from now, like could jump into this top tier and maybe pass a Lamar or a Burrow in our, the proverbial rankings?
Yeah, I think of my list, the three that I actually was like, yes, and the other ones were kind of like more stretches of like maybe. But the three great ones are like obviously Caleb. Saw it last year and like, all right, he could really do something. And he's in a great situation. I would say Drake May. He literally came second MVP voting. I know they're going to have a weird year ahead of them, but I still think they have a good structure there. And then the third is if Jaden Daniels is healthy. 2 years ago, I was ready to go to war for that man. I loved him.
Yeah.
This year just got injured with that elbow thing. It was like a freak thing that happened. And then despite their season being over, they had him playing. And then he threw a pick, and then they trucked him to the ground, and then he hurt his like already broken wrist. Why was he playing? I don't know. Anyways, if he can be healthy, I think him and Caleb and Drake May could be like Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. And then those other guys, maybe, some emerge, but I think, worst case, are just like, decent quarterbacks that are good. And then I think a lot of the NFL lately has been like less reliant on a quarterback and more about like systems and schemes and play calling and stuff.
That's kind of like that 2004 draft with Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers. I mean, Phillip Rivers never, won a Super Bowl, but just kind of like three elite quarterbacks coming in. I feel like there is similarities to those three.
Yeah.
And all three of those guys that I mentioned from 2004, they had very different careers. And I kind of feel the same way about those three guys you just named.
Even like Bo Nix was in there too, which is like crazy. Yeah. 2024 was the draft. So it's Caleb, followed by literally number 2 is Jaden Daniels. 3 is Drake May. Yeah. You still have Marvin Harrison 4, who's decent. Like that draft was great. And then, sorry, Michael Penix, I'm not going to include you on the future faces of the NFL list. I forgot J.J. McCarthy. Great one, Joe.
Oh yeah, we'll see if Kevin O'Connell can turn him around.
I don't think so. Bro, they have 3 stars at the top of that. I would add Bo Nix as a good quarterback, and then we were kind of promised this that year that we had like the the Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, CJ Stroud, or not CJ Stroud, who was it?
That's Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. Like he's the only one that's been
Actually,
decent.
we didn't mention him. I mean, what he showed last year out of anyone. I mean,
yeah, I didn't know where to group him because he felt younger, but I also wouldn't even say he's like a future. But it was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts, who like now is okay, but like at the time that was like a rough disappointment of the first 4 picks. But and then Justin Fields, like that was like, and Mac Jones, that was supposed to be like the new wave of quarterbacks that were like a little refresher. That kind of failed, but luckily 2024 brought us some good ones.